everybody, or good morning if you're not on the East Coast. Welcome to today's session of the data mining series. This was supposed to be the last session, but we are adding one more. So by popular demand, we've decided to add a session on managing the spreadsheets and doing analysis with the data that you download. So look for that class later on, and maybe Wendy will be putting it in the chat. So we have an hour today, and what I wanted to do is give you kind of a tour, show you some of the tools that you could access to research the products and the services and the pricing and the tools that are available in the GSA, the General Services Administration resource list. So everything that I will show you today is publicly available and accessible. And bonus, unlike the previous session, there's no login required. So it's super easy to get to things. So as always in the class, if you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A. We've got a full team. We are joined today by Wendy Bray, Curtis Brandon, Norman Seeley, and Cynthia Jackson with the OSDBU team. Thank you all for being here. And what my colleagues will do is they will manage the Q&A. If there's anything that they could answer right away, they will. If they need to interrupt me, they will. If I'm saying something unclear, if I need to back up, I will do so. And if there are more general questions or kind of tangents, then we'll save those to the end. We've got about an hour today, and let's proceed. So what we will discuss is generally what GSA does, the perspective of category management and what that means, the General Services Administration and what they do, and then in particular, we'll drill into the tools that are available. We will, what we'll do is I will show you the screenshots. You will get a copy of this presentation afterwards by email by tomorrow. So I have taken the screenshots so that you could jog your memory later on when you are doing these queries by yourself. And after we walk through the screenshot examples with a presentation, we'll take the Q&A and then we could go live into any of the tools so I could show you how to navigate and we could do some sample searches for any of them. I am not currently looking at my chat or Q&A. So again, a reminder, please interrupt me, team, if I need to stop or back up. And I do see the little chat pop up. So for everybody doing introductions, I hope you make some good friends today.
Anna, if I could add one thing, I just want to make sure before we get started that everyone is able to see the presentation that is on the screen right now. If you are not, you may have to leave out and then come back in. If you're using a mobile device, you may have to select the square that has the presentation on there. But before we get started, just to make sure. Okay, perfect. I see everyone saying they can see it. All right, thank you.
Thank you. This session is being recorded and it will be available on YouTube as well. And the slides will be sent to all the participants also. All right, so I don't want to spend too much time on category management, but I do want to let you know the concept. You may hear it from other federal agencies, you may hear it in industry. Category management as a concept is the ability to aggregate demand so that the organization as a whole can get economies of scale. For example, if we're to use another federal agency, instead of each office of the Social Security Administration, as you know, they're in every city, instead of each office buying their own printer paper and getting the retail prices for that printer paper, that organization may aggregate their demand. They may buy paper by a geographic area, let's say for the whole state, or even for the whole department, so that they could get volume discounts. In addition to price differences, what category management may afford an agency are the economies of the administrative process. Instead of 50 separate contracts for printer paper, you may need one contract. That's one solicitation, one contracting officer, one set of research instead of 50. This will speed up time, and this will also make for more efficient research and comparison and better use of human resources because it's fewer people involved. Obviously, for small businesses, category management has been recognized as a potential concern because if there is one contract for one service at one location, a small business can easily do it. If it is a nationwide contract, the opportunities for small businesses to be able to compete to offer the greater scales may disappear or may be smaller. So when government agencies are procuring products and services, as part of that consolidation analysis, small business interests are considered, and impact to small business must be reported not only internally, but also to the Small Business Administration. Also under the OMB Memo 2203, President Biden has determined that some of those contract incentives, like the best-in-class contracts, they spend under management, larger contracts, as government agencies use those larger contracts to aggregate demand. Awards to socioeconomic categories count as that spend under management by default. So small business buys are considered a type of category management because we are using a mechanism that the government has determined as a priority. So because GSA is the government's acquisition arm, and because they manage some of the most of the government-wide acquisition contracts and the GSA schedules, which are primary tools of category management, I just wanted to give you a little bit of an explanation of that term. We will not go back to it. So I'm going to take a second and see if there's any questions on category management that I could address before moving on to showing you the tools. Okay. Anything in Q&A, Wendy or Curtis?
I'm looking right now. We don't have anything in the Q&A or the chat.
Fantastic. All right. So just to give you an idea, the 10 common areas of government-wide categories that are considered for category management are listed here. Not going to spend any time on it. Just to give you the overview of those of what those are. All right. So we'll be spending all of our time today talking about GSA, and I wanted to give you an idea of what they are. GSA, the General Services Administration, is a federal agency, and they have three major portfolios. They manage most of general US-based office buildings for the federal government. So with VA, for example, they manage our office building facilities. We have an exemption. We manage our own hospital medical facilities. Those are separate. GSA also doesn't have as many holdings outside the country. So those are managed either mostly by Department of Defense or Department of State. But they are the largest lessor, the largest real estate portfolio in the federal government in the US. They also manage a couple of major information technology contracts and some intergovernmental and cross-agency information technology efforts and initiatives. But for today's purpose, we're going to focus on what they do, what GSA does to facilitate buying and selling of services and of products to the federal government by industry. We'll talk about a couple of tools, the GSA eLibrary being the first. And this one is the one that I recommend small businesses look at when you're trying to determine, first of all, whether or not a GSA schedule is something that you'll need to pursue. GSA eLibrary, and the link will be on the next page, exactly how to get to it. But the GSA eLibrary tool will help you identify what vendors there are, what prices they have, what are some terms and conditions, and what are the GSA multiple award schedule categories or contract types. They're kind of like NAICS codes, but not exactly, that your product or service falls into. This tool does not have any buy-side information, so you won't see how much has been bought or what agency has purchased under the GSA schedules. This will have more information on the vendors and their offerings. So great for your competitive intelligence. Or looking for teaming partners that may have a GSA schedule, or they're also called, so GSA schedule and multiple award schedule, or MAS, and federal supply schedule, or FSS, it's exactly the same thing. So I'll refer mostly to GSA schedules, but it also means MAS and FSS. They're going through some rebranding. So if you're looking for teaming partners, for example, because you do not have a schedule, but a potential target agency is buying those services or those products, you're trying to sell them through schedules, perhaps teaming up with a vendor that has a schedule already is a way to get to that customer easily while you're getting your information together. We'll talk about at the end of this training about getting on the schedule and some general concepts there. We also have several very specific questions about very specific webinars about getting on GSA schedules. And you could look for those on YouTube as well. So with GSA eLibrary, you could do several searches. We'll demonstrate how to do those searches, but mostly the kind of things you're looking for are the schedules or the SIN numbers, the categories. For example, for cleaning products or motor vehicles or training services. You could also look for a specific service or a product, for example, a window cleaner or a Toyota RAV4 or information technology specialist with a certain level of experience. You could look for specific vendors if you want to know what a particular company is selling through schedules, or you may want to get a sense of who are the SDV OSB companies that have multiple award schedules. You could also, if, for example, in researching awards, you identify a GSA contract number, you could look for that specific contract number and get a lot of information based on that contract or that schedule. I'm going to go pretty quickly, so Curtis, Wendy, stop me if I need to break and answer a question.
Okay, we'll do.
Somebody asked a question about, could you explain it further what the exemption meant? That was in the chat.
An exemption? I'd like to get more information about the exemption.
When you elaborate on exemption, what do you mean?
I am not, I'm sorry, I don't remember talking about exemptions. Hold on. Oh, probably exemptions in terms of the real estate portfolios. But if whoever posted it in chat, if you could give me the context, because we've covered several concepts already, so I just want to make sure.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, let me know, Curtis. Sorry about that.
Oh, they said it was an exemption to manage the hospital, I believe.
Right. Yes. So GSA manages most federal buildings in the U.S., but different agencies get exemptions where they manage their own real estate portfolios if it has to do with specific function. So with VA, we manage our own medical facilities. Department of Energy, they manage national laboratories. DoD manages military installations. So it's function-based exemptions that the agencies they don't apply for, but they qualify for based on their unique functions. Okay, thank you.
Hey, Anna, before you continue, I just want to remind everyone, please place your questions in the Q&A. It's easier for us to follow along and be able to respond to you if your questions are in the Q&A than the chat, because there's a lot of interactions that happens in the chat. Leaves room for us to be able to miss your question during this live session. And as a reminder for anyone that is new that has attended, if you are on your laptop, the chat is to your right. You might have to press on the 3 dots and then you click on chat, and the Q&A is to your right, and you may have to click on the 3 dots and then the Q&A will open up for you. If you're currently on your mobile device, if you look either up to the left, at the top or the bottom, there's 3 dots. Click on those 3 dots. You will see 2 tabs. One says Advanced. Click on the Advanced tab and scroll all the way down to the bottom, and that is where you will find the Q&A box. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So we will go through the demos of those tools a bit later in the presentation. I just want to highlight what those are. So the second one is GSA Advantage, and that is really intended more for the buyer, from the buyer's perspective, and it is for products. But if you are selling a product to the government, and you may want to look at some competitors' information, you may want to get a sense for what are typically the prices and the volumes and the kind of items that are available. You could look at GSA Advantage, and it's pretty much think Amazon, but the government's version of it. And we'll go through that as well. And the last tool that I wanted to highlight, and we will spend some time on it, is the labor rate calculator. Now, what the labor rate calculator enables you to do is exactly that, is you'll be able to see the rates, the hourly labor rates that vendors have cited in their GSA contracts. Now, that includes those GSA schedules, multiple award schedules, federal supply schedules. So in those GSA schedule contracts, as well as other GSA government-wide acquisition contracts like 8A Stars, Alliant, Oasis, things like that. And I'll show you how to get to those prices and the sources, so the contracts that those ceiling prices come from. So those are rates that we'll be able to look at, and this is a screenshot that will include several different categories and filters. So for example, you'll be able to search for a ceiling price based on an education level, number of years of experience, whether it's on contractors or government site, as well as from small business or not a small business. These are not a substitute for your own analysis of what your rates should be, but it will certainly give you a baseline for comparison. Are you in the ballpark? Do your rates come in really high or really low based on your market and that specific category? The links for everything are going to be in the presentation that you'll receive, and also I'll show you the live website, so we'll get to them today. And the last tool that we'll look at, that we'll demo today, is the schedule sales query, which is the data and analytics dashboard, as it's called. And that is a custom report builder based on the GSA schedules and the GSA spending through those schedules. So what that tool will have is, and what we'll focus on today is the schedule sales query report. We could build a report. You could also look at individual contract performance and as well as your own suitability or your own readiness to qualify for a GSA contract. So one interesting thing about this tool, as you'll see, these are the same categories that'll stay on top, and then we'll be able to get some additional information through the report builder. One thing that I want to highlight as you look at this tool and as you do your searches, the way that the GSA schedule works and the way that the General Services Administration manages the schedules is vendors apply to be on a schedule. So it's not a competitive contract, but as long as you qualify, you submit your individual rates, you submit your history, they do their due diligence, and if they determine that you are suitable to receive a GSA contract, then you receive a contract. Then if a federal agency buys your product or services through that contract, that sale or a percentage of that sale goes to the General Services Administration. It's called the industrial funding fee. It's 0.75% of the award. It is up to the vendor. It is the vendor's responsibility to report GSA sales through their contracts to the General Services Administration. General Services Administration does not keep track of who the ultimate clients were, who those agencies were that received products or services through a GSA schedule contract. That information is available through other means, but it is not reported through GSA. So we could see how many vendors, we could see the quarters, we could see NAICS codes and socioeconomic categories. What we are not able to get is who were the individual agencies that contracted for and funded those contracts. All right. So that's the overview of the different tools that we're going to demo. And the last thing that I want to say is that if you do want to become a vendor, there are some resources that are available to you. So the first of which is figuring out if your target customers, the federal agencies that you're trying to sell to, if they buy products or services that you want to sell to them through GSA schedules, which is why we're going to do all this market research that I just walked through to figure out if your services or the types of services are available on schedules, and if vendors are successful in selling them. You would also want to talk to your target agencies to determine whether or not they use GSA schedules, and we could research that through USA Spending or through SAM. And then GSA does have tools for the multiple award schedules roadmap, so figuring out how to actually build your package to submit your service or your product for consideration to get on the GSA schedule. And they do have a support center as well to help vendors, because the more vendors they have that are successful, the more GSA is able to collect their 0.75% fee, which is how they keep their lights on. And the Apex accelerators, of course, can assist you as well. Right. So I'm going to switch a little bit from the presentation and pull up a web browser. And while I do that, let's see if there are any questions that I could address right now.
Hey, Anna. The first question is, let me skip this part. Okay, I am trying to research incumbent contracts based on an active solicitation. I typically use USA Spending and FPDS, and neither provide the information this time. I guess they're asking, where can they locate this information? for incumbents contracts?
So the incumbent contract is not going, well, it depends on what information you're trying to access about this contract. So what are the data elements that that this the person is trying to access?
They haven't stated. They just had on here incumbent contracts, and they're trying to identify it based on active solicitations, but they
So-
can't identify it in USA Spending and FPDS.
So federal sources are not great about linking past to present. Sometimes commercial aggregators do a better job of it. But the way to, if I have a solicitation in front of me, let's say I'm a vendor and I'm looking at a solicitation for training services in the certain NAICS code put out by this agency, what I want to do is look for existing contracts mirroring the same information. So if I'm looking for training, what are the current contracts at this office that are in the same NAICS codes that say training? That's probably going to be the best way. If you know who the vendor is, looking for that vendor's contracts could be another way to get to that information also.
Thank you. Another question, how do vendors that want to supply to VA register for DAPA? It says distribution and pricing agreement.
I believe that's through the SAC. We're gonna have to take that offline because I'm not sure.
Okay, so send us an email. The person with that question, send us an email to osdbustrat.com@va.gov so that we can reach out to the appropriate office to get you that information.
Thank you for the hard questions. That's how we learn, and that's how it could be a better resource for you. So yeah, thanks for stumping me. That's awesome.
Do we have time for one more question?
Go ahead.
Is it possible to review contracts awarded based on category?
Not exactly. So the categories, if we're talking about category management, let me back through that. So the way that these categories are defined is by specific NAICS and PSC codes, and GSA has they have on their category management site a whole well, they used to have a whole not definition, but methodology for how they come up with it. But it's essentially PSC codes and NAICS codes that match the specific requirements here. But it's not its own. This is not its own label. So the categories are not their own labels. Good question.
And I want to make a correction for the individual with that question. I said send us an email. Don't worry about sending us an email. I'm actually going to review the chat. Today is Wednesday, so give me until Friday or Monday to get a response back to you.
Thank you, Wendy.
And that's it. I'll turn it back over to you.
Awesome. Okay. So let's go through the tools. So I'm going to be toggling back and forth so you see exactly what I'm doing. So the first one is GSA eLibrary. I'm going to click on the link here in the presentation. That way, you know that you'll be able to access the same information. Oh, goodness. All right. Starting off. Great. All right. So GSA eLibrary.gsa.gov. Okay. So I'm going to fix my presentation here. We're going to fix the presentation later. So it's GSA eLibrary.gsa.gov. And get to the page. GSA eLibrary.gsa.gov. All right. So here's how we could search here. And I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. Now you see these categories, right? They are very similar to the category management because they're common, right? These are the big aggregate pockets of what federal agencies typically buy. So this is a tool for federal agencies to find what it is they're looking for. So it makes sense that it would mirror. Obviously, there's more of these than the category management categories, but it's another shortcut. So we could look, for example, for human capital. and get a little bit more drill down, human services or human resources. And then what you will see here, this is how the display works typically with the GSA eLibrary. The category is also the SIN number, single item number, or the subcategory. They are not consistent terms used for the same thing. So I'm including all of them so that you know what you're looking for. But anytime you could click something, click on it, you'll get more information. So these categories or those or the specific single item numbers, that is a catalog definition, right? So 542, 524, 292, separation and retirement, it explains the function. If I wanted to know more, I simply click on that and it will remind me what the category is, what the subcategory is here, and then all of the vendors, their contract numbers, their contact information, socioeconomic status, and you could go to GSA Advantage and look at their catalogs as well. One interesting, well, a couple of interesting things, but one of the most useful tools within the GSA schedules is, first, let me draw your attention to the contract number, right? If you're looking at USA spending or SAM.gov award analysis, this GSA contract number will often be the one listed as the IDV contract number, indefinite delivery vehicle, because this is the overarching contract that that agency is buying under. So you will see this same number. You could also, if you see an IDV number in that other database, you could search for it within GSA eLibrary, and you will get the contract that the vendor used to sell to that agency. So I'm going to show you a typical, or not a typical, a sample contract, which includes price list and terms and conditions. So if you're thinking about applying to be on a GSA schedule, this is what to model or to use as an example. And I'm going to hone in on service disabled veteran-owned business category. So now I'm only seeing human capital, human resources, separation and retirement services offered by service disabled veteran-owned small businesses. Here's all 5 of them. I'm just going to click on a random one. And this will give me exactly what that company negotiated with GSA. So you'll see all of their categories or single item numbers, what they provide, their location, terms and conditions. Sometimes for service contracts, the delivery information will not be applicable, but it will give you the labor categories, the definition of how they determine labor category, and the rate. We'll talk about rates later when we talk to the rate, when we get to the labor rate calculator. But this gives me the individual labor rates for that companies for all of their services that they provide. You could do that for any one of them. They won't look exactly the same, but they'll be pretty similar in terms of what to expect. Any kind of pre-negotiated minimum or maximum order quantities, their geographic location, company information. These have done it pretty long ago. They don't even have a UEI number. They just use a DUNS. And the services they offer. And again, you'll see their labor category and the definition, and they probably have their pricing table somewhere lower down. So this is an interesting example. They have their prices in terms of a class as opposed to a labor rate, but they probably also have individual labor rate as well somewhere. But they have, see, minimum number of hours is a certain amount. And what these tables often have is, as you could see, year 2, year 3. So there's an escalation built in because the expectation is that salaries will grow, cost of living will grow. So they usually the typical escalation rate is a 3% year over year. So, all right. So that is one way to look for GSA eLibrary information is by category. You could also look for, if you don't know what category something belongs in, let's say I want engineering. And it helpfully pulls in engineering service, also anything that has the word engineering in it. So I could search that way. Search. And it'll tell me what contracts. This is the multiple award schedule. It'll also tell me if there's any other contracts. I'm scrolling down. So Alliant, Oasis, CS3. So all of the major GSA contracts that match engineering. And within those contracts, I'm scrolling through so you could get a full sense of it. What are those subcategories or those single item numbers categories here under all of them that include engineering, and it defines what kind of engineering. Let's say I want hydro. What I could simply do is do a word search for hydro. Now this is a company. Maybe there's no other hydro engineering. What about geographic information systems as an engineering? I see it's available here. And it will be geology. So I could do it that way. I could also just type geology or geographic at the top. And again, regardless of the schedule or overarching contract and the subcategory of that contract, you could click on any of them and you will get a list of vendors, socioeconomic categories, and their contracts that are available on this schedule. So before I jump into GSA Advantage, are there any questions about eLibraries?
So we do have a few questions, Anna. Sorry, give me 1 second. Okay, there was a question. If my GSA price list needs to be updated, am I allowed to add additional services to an update price list?
Yes. So there, GSA's contracting officer that you worked with, you will have a point of contact. You could update your information with them, renegotiate it. If you have additional products or services, you could amend your schedule to include them as well. So, yep, those can be updated.
And I apologize if you typed this one. I was responding to the Q&A, but can you search for vendors in GSA library using a NAICS code?
You can. So sometimes the NAICS codes correspond to the single item numbers, which is super unhelpful, but 541519. So kind of. See, with 88 stars, you could see that it's in here. All these vendors have that NAICS code. So you can, oof, that's a lot. That's a lot. So yes, probably not the best way to search this library, but yeah,
Can I add something, Anna? For those individuals on the call, if you're really good with Excel, you can actually copy the list she was just showing you. And if you go into, and I don't have it up right now, data. If you click on data and click text to column, copy and paste that, and you use either a space or a key, that'll separate all the information for you to be able to see. If you were specifically just looking at this and wanted to analyze the data, that's one way to be able to pull it and then easily be able to identify the NAICS codes like she was showing you.
And that would be a great point for us to cover in our Excel training in a couple of weeks. Thanks, Wendy. That was awesome. All right.
I think we had another one. I wanted to make sure I didn't miss it. Oh, how can you find the statement of work for soon to be expiring contracts forecasted?
So two ways. One is on SAM. You could look for search by that contract number for that statement of work. Or two, if it's not on SAM, if it's been too long, well, actually three ways. One, look on SAM. Two, put in that contract number into a Google search or Bing search or whatever, and sometimes you get really lucky. And if it's not publicly available, if it's just been too long, reaching out to that agency's FOIA office would be another way to get it.
And then this is the last question. I'm kind of shortening the question. How do we get those SINs in our current contract or our current schedule? They, for example, they were with one company and it got merged. I meant one service and it got merged to another, but their SINs currently are looking SINs from the other company that we are currently looking for opportunities. Okay, so how do they get the SINs in their current schedule?
So that's something that you need to update and negotiate with your contracting officer, the GSA schedule managing contracting officer, to update your SINs.
Okay, and that was everything. We'll go back to the Q&A.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'll show you GSA Advantage really quickly, because one, we're running out of time, and two, this is just not, you've all used Amazon. This is not very different from that, but you could search for products. Let's say, could search for engineering again. I'm purposefully searching for a service on a tool that's intended for products, just so you'll be able to see what it is. Because what do they have related to engineering? It will be mostly books and products and things like that. So if I were to search for, let's say, sandwich, because I haven't had lunch yet, you will see sandwich makers. You will see, I don't know, something about a smoky horseradish sandwich cases. So that gives you an idea. Now, what you are able to do is, if you look at this product, it'll tell you specifics about its manufacturer, the pricing, what the origin was, and which vendors it's available from, as well as their contracts and their contract terms. So that's super quick on GSA Advantage. What I do want to spend some more time on is the labor pricing information. So the labor rate calculator. So with that, GSA pricing, most of this information, feel free to click on it in case they update it, but sometimes some of them, do you see how they have like little locks? It's only available if you use a government login, so some of this information is just not available. So we'll do calc and labor rate calculator. So these are the rates that you negotiated with GSA. They are your fully loaded rates, which means it's the rate that includes your salary, your overhead, your G&A, your profit or fee, and the fringe. And it does not have any discounts built in, like volume discount, for example. So if you were to sell 1 hour of, I guess, this random rate, then it would be $127. But if you're selling that service for somebody to come in and work for a year, there may be a volume discount built in, because then you're billing for 1,980 hours and not 1 hour. So for example, and I'm going to use the same word again, just so you could see how the same information percolates or compares across GSA tools. So actually, engineering was not a great tool, not the greatest word. Let's see, let's do engineer. And hit search. So these are, this is everything to do with engineer. Now, that's really broad, right? So I may want to say like GIS engineer or environmental engineer or systems engineer. I could download this, I could export it, and I could play around with it some more. What I could also do is look at the individual 10,000 results, which is a lot. But what this gives me is the definition, party chief, okay, environmental services. All right. So it gives me the labor category name, the price, that fully loaded rate, the education level, the contract that it came from, which I could click on and go to that contract that I showed you earlier, and the vehicle that it references. Mostly it's going to be those multiple award schedules or GSA schedules, but it could also be another contract. Now, engineer is really broad. Let's say I only want engineers, let me make this a little bigger, that have a PhD. Now see how my rate changes. Standard or average rate is 187 with at least 10, I don't know, 11 years of experience. That changes again. That's more expensive. If I wanted to be, I don't care where they work, from small businesses, ooh, that's even more expensive by a little bit. And if they have to be cleared, that should make it even higher. Oh, that didn't really change. Oh, unavailable. Okay. And then if I want to look out a year or two to see those escalation rates. So I'm going to, all right. So this gives me an idea as I hone in a little bit more on exactly what I'm looking at. So the average price is 230 and it goes usually as low as 158 to 302 as a ballpark. Again, do not use this as a substitute for doing your own math. Your fringe may be higher. Your location may be less. Your overhead could be less. Maybe you're employing only veterans who all come with their own health insurance, so you're not paying health insurance. So that means your fringe goes down. So there will be a variety of things that make your internal pricing different, but this is a really good benchmark for coming up with your rates. Right. Questions on this before I move on to the last tool that I'll show you, the schedule sales query.
Someone did ask if you'd be able to show an example of a product instead of a service.
So this is hourly rate calculator. So the hourly rates are for services. So they don't have this for product. The way to search for products is on the GSA Advantage because it'll give you those product based prices.
And another question, can we find out what kind of discount is offered?
Not through here. The discounts are negotiated through individual contracts. So for example, if you want to see senior scientist 7, whatever that is, but you could look at Soul Engineering Services on SAM or USA Spending to see what their contracts are, and then you could probably do some math and figure out based on the contract and the requirements what their discount may have been. But that's very proprietary, closely guarded information, so it's not going to be published anywhere. Because that's where the margins come into play and the competition gets tight. So, fantastic question, but very hard to answer. Right?
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, so from the same place, buy.gsa.gov/pricing, we could look at the data and analytics dashboard to get to this schedule sales query. So if I flip back to my presentation, data analytics dashboard, you could also click on this link directly that you'll see. And these are the same boxes that appear across here. So this is not the easiest tool to use. It takes a little bit of poking around and making mistakes, but you could get some good, very incremental information about sales through schedules. So we're going to look at the report builder. So that's the report builder tool. And I will show you how to get things in here. But please, you can't break it. There's nothing in there that pulls from your screen or from your computer that changes the ultimate data. So break it, go back, refresh the page, start over. This is how you will learn the best to get information that's useful to you. Here's what I will show you though. So on the right-hand side, there's a couple of places to filter down the data. And you could filter by different types of information. So let's say business size. And as I start filtering, it builds my report. So now I see these are through all the GSA scheduled sales for the last 3 years, everything that was from other than small businesses and from small businesses. Now I could also do it by NAICS code for whoever asked. It will build that in, right? And it will be a very, very, very long report because it's going to list each NAICS code separately. You could do it by vendor name. You know what? I don't want to do vendor. I don't want to do NAICS code, for example. I want to do it by, I don't know. Let's see, government category. Just do it that way, because I want this to be short enough so that you could see what is being sold. And these, again, these mimic those categories. They mimic those source, the category management type categories. So general catch-all categories. You could look for specific contract schedules. These are legacy schedules, the old ones. Now this only shows the multiple award schedule and the legacy schedules. This does not apply to other GSA contracts. You could look for specific SINs. So you do all, or you, this gets tricky. So you, oh goodness, you have to uncheck it, uncheck the all. Then what you may want to do is apply that. Now it shows none, obviously, and then you pick specific ones. I'm just going to pick random ones, hit apply, and it'll show that. And then these are by the different GSA offices. So by region, for example, not as useful because it's GSA regions, not necessarily your customers. And then again, by product or service codes here. And because it's filtered already, there may be fewer choices here. Although maybe not. No, it does not. It's not dynamic filtering. So you can look for specific vendors that way as well. You could narrow it down by certified SDV OSB. So you'll see that there's very little in our categorization, but that's how you could find some very specific information. So if we just do it this way. What did I do? Oh, because I have to, yep, there we go. I had to undo what I did. All right. So that's how you narrow down and you get some specific incremental information. Now, if I were to click on this small business, if there were other fields under it, it would allow me to highlight the specific data elements below that apply to it. But since we only have about 5 minutes left in the class, I want to have the remaining time for questions. And if we have an opportunity to filter, then we'll do that as well. So Wendy, back to you.
Thank you. The next question, we provided services under NAICS code with the 8 digits. The 6 digits, which is 561210, but with the 8 digit -03 to it, is all for facility services. But the 6 digit NAICS code, they said, doesn't really apply to the services that their business provides. So they use the 8 digits. A lot of different and not, it's different and not what they do. So does GSA pay attention only to the 6-digit NAICS codes?
Yeah, so typically government entities will use the 6-digit NAICS because that's what our systems are coded for. So it's not that the 8-digit doesn't apply, it's just that it's filtered more finely. So the 6-digit in your case would be our more broader, not more broader, a broader category. It's not as useful for market research. I do not love using NAICS codes because they are kind of generic. Some of them are way too specific and some of them are not specific enough. So you can't really do it with this query, but when you're looking at SAM reports or USA spending reports, doing searches by very specific keywords is a better way to hone in on your customers, your competitors, and your target markets. This search and the GSA tools are more about determining whether or not GSA schedules is a useful method for you in terms of tracking your competitors and tracking your buyers and total dollars spent. So, oh, and the tool is the pricing tool is useful as well.
Thank you. Another question is, they use 2 specific NAICS codes, and they have found that that vendors are using an encompassing marketing code to search for eligible vendors. Is there a way for them to be able to educate them and specifically narrow the search on the NAICS codes that they're using?
You could, but it's a tough road trying to reinvent the wheel for your buyer. If it's something that's unique and difficult to find through normal sources, possibly. But if the information exists already in how we are used to searching for it, I think you've got a tough road. Like if I know the way that I always get from my house to my office, it's going to take a monumental effort for somebody that doesn't know me and has never driven with me to the office to tell me that there's a better road. It can be done, but I'm going to be very stubborn because I have certain things, you know, like my coffee shop's on the way, my gas station is here. So you are trying to re-educate your buyer on their business process. That's a tough one. That's a tough one.
Is the category, oh, sorry, Anna.
Oh, go ahead. Next question.
Is the category number the same as the NAICS code?
No, it's not. They're confusingly similar. Sometimes they are the same, but I don't want to say it's coincidental. It's probably because they are for a similar category, or for a similar type of service or a product, but they are not the same thing. Like, yeah, I'm not even going to waste your time trying to come up with an example. They're kind of, they're cousins, but do not use them interchangeably.
Are the vendor response to the proposal a part of the record in GSA eLibrary?
No, bids are exempt from a FOIA disclosure, and bids are proprietary business information. Certain portions of proposals that are incorporated into contracts are part of that contract. Now, the pre-negotiated, what we saw with GSA eLibrary, those pre-negotiated rate tables and those contracts, that is what's available. It's not necessarily what the bidder submitted, but what has been negotiated with GSA and presented as the final GSA schedule contract.
Is there a way to get sales data on specific items sold to the government under a particular GSA contract?
Yes, so that's what that tool is, the schedule sales query. It enables you to do just that. So you have to look for that specific SIN number or specific item. Yep.
Can we find out what kind of discount is offered?
No,
Oh, no.
mentioned it
Okay.
earlier. Yeah, volume discounts
Yeah.
are exempt. Mhm.
Can we? Okay, so it was the last two questions. Yes, we do have a YouTube channel. You'll receive that information by tomorrow morning when the recorded presentation link and the recording is sent out to everyone. The last question, could the firm also make an appointment with the agency small business rep to assist them with the NAICS code issue? I'm not sure what issue it is with the NAICS codes, but if you would like to schedule a meeting with us, just send us an email to OSDBU OSDBU stratcom, COMM, at va.gov. That information will also be sent out to you tomorrow. So whenever you receive the email, you can just reply back and you can request to meet with us. If you could just be specific on what do you mean, or just clarify when you say NAICS code issue, and we can schedule a meeting with you.
Also, the Apex accelerators could help figure out the NAICS codes that are appropriate for your business.
Yes. I don't see any more questions in the Q&A. Thank you, everyone, for attending today. Oh, I just took over, Emma. I just took over. I'm going to give it back to you so you can close us out. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, everybody, for attending and for the wonderful questions. Please check back for the Excel training that Wendy and I are going to do in a few weeks. And have the wonderful rest of the week and enjoy spring. Thanks, Wendy. Thanks, Curtis.
Thank you. For those that need our email address, I'm going to type it in the chat and leave us open for about a few more seconds. OSDBU stratcom at va.gov.